even up to 10. Anybody who wants to follow Max's lead and just get up and start dancing in the corner, feel free. Nice that it's like 30 degrees cooler outside today than it was all week. And still beautiful. A little scary that that's possible. Welcome to summer in Chicago in the brave new world, I guess. How good it is to be together inside here. Big windows to see the green. And also, just nice to be with all of you. This is our last service before August, our last Saturday morning service before August. We're gonna do outdoor stuff all summer on Shabbat mornings. A little less formal, more learning. So glad you're all here for like our our farewell tour. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Ve'ani berov chazdecha avo veitecha eshtachaveh elecha kodshecha
Shabbat Shalom. I invite you to rise as you're able. Stand up. Turn to page 13. So we begin to warm up our voices and our bodies and ourselves.
Good morning to everybody online.
Yeah, good morning everybody online. You can also stand up as you're able. I mean, I think we don't have you stand up and sit down just for fun. It's not like a rabbi ego thing. Like, look what I can do.
Can I tell you something so funny about that?
Sure, yeah.
I was trying to tell my 3-year-old daughter to do something, and she was like, no. And somebody said to me, like, that'll really show you, Rabbi. You tell these groups of people, like, all rise, be seated, all right. And people just do whatever. And then your own little 3-year-old is like, screw you, Mom. Anyway, so yes, not a rabbi ego thing.
Not a rabbi ego thing. I actually learned that people don't really even know when to sit up or stand up or sit down. When I was first going to services, my friend Joel, who you know, because I was really worried about not knowing the choreography of services, and I'm like, I just don't know if I'll ever learn. He's like, nobody else knows. They just do it when people tell them to do it. And to make a point, he literally just stood up in the middle of the service, and a bunch of people just stood up with him. But no, it's actually because like prayer is an embodied practice. It's not meant to be just intellectual, just emotional, but also embodied as well. And so as we go through these blessings together, as we kind of warm ourselves up this morning, to allow that connection to happen, to check in not only with yourself emotionally, mentally, where am I holding stress, where am I holding energy, where am I holding joy, where am I holding heartbreak, but also check in with your body, like where am I still a little sleepy, where has the caffeine not quite seeped in yet, where am I feeling energy, where am I feeling the need to stretch?
Sorry, no, there's like like when you need to crack your back and it just won't do it. Anyway, sorry, I was just following instructions.
No, it's great. Yes, this is exactly what we're supposed to do. I mean, like, seriously, if you want to go, like, wander, run around, play with the kids, like, go find a corner, find Kofi the monkey, to play with, like, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. We're at page 13. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan tzivina l'havkin ben yom ben laila. You have given me the understanding to see differences clearly as between day and night.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani b'tzomo. You have made me in your image with unlimited potential.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani ben chorin. You have made me free with the ability to choose.
Amen.
So if you want to sit down, you can, or you can wander around, or you can stand, or you can stretch, or you can whatever Rabbi Lizzie was doing earlier. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani Yisrael. You have made me a Jew with an enriching heritage.
Amen. Wrestler, amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
You open the eyes of the blind, providing sight and insight.
Amen.
Just take a minute to look around from your siddur, look at each other,
Hello.
see your eyes. Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish harumim. You clothe the naked, providing shelter and boundaries. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. You liberate the bound, releasing us from our shackles. It's a good moment to just like stretch, arms up, arms out, arms forward. Whatever your body needs at this moment. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. You straighten the bent, removing whatever pushes us down. Gideon's doing a good modeling of the forward bend. Just take a moment, touch your toes if you can. I cannot. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, roka ha'aretz al hamayim. You have made the world a secure place where nature is governed by law. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shesali kol tzorki. You provide me with skills and tools, enabling me to meet all my needs.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher hechi mitzvah gaver. You guide my steps, help me walk on my intended path. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer b'gvura. You gird me with courage and strength, enabling me to overcome all obstacles.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter b'tifara. You crown with dignity and glory, balancing strength with beauty. This is a good moment. It's Rabbi Lizzie's modeling to just check in with your head, which is also part of your body.
Totally.
Maybe a little bit of a neck roll.
My son came into my room this morning with two things, a head and a body, like of a little He-Man character. And he said the head fell off. And I was like, oh no, like did you break it? And the truth was it's just a ball and socket thing where you stick the head back on the body. and then the head has full range of motion. And I was thinking, I should practice that. So feel free to take a moment. I know the head and spine is not exactly a ball and socket situation, but you can take a moment to just let it roll around.
But I did just learn that certain dinosaurs had ball and sockets in their elbow shoulders,
Yeah.
like a T-Rex. You should all watch the Apple TV Dino series.
All right, sorry, continue.
No, that's great. This is great. This is just like the Mishkan rabbis unchained. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanatan lev koach. You strengthen the weary, staying with us even when we are exhausted.
Amen.
For those who join Morning Menu, you know this is my coffee blessing. There is coffee in the hallway, by the way, if you don't know that. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir shenim einai, u'tmanei afapai. You remove sleep from my eyes and confusion from my mind.
Amen.
Continue with Sukkah de Zimra, page 19. Baruch Shema v'haolam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Oseh v'Reshit, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Omer v'Oseh, Baruch Hu, Baruch Ozem Kayem,
Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Merchem al ha'aretz,
Baruch Hu,
Baruch Merchem al habriot,
Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov v'Reah,
Baruch Hu,
Baruch Chai La'ad V'Kam L'Netzach,
Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Bodeh U'Matzil, Baruch Uvruk Shemo,
Baruch Shemo, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Baruch Amanu Mehulav B'fi Amo, Meshubach u'Mefu'ar Adei
Song
Shemo.
David, so remind yourselves of your presence. Yachid Chei Olamim, Melech Meshubach, Umfa'adei Ad Shemo HaGadol, Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Mechulal Batishpachot. You may be seated.
29. Sort of read down the Hebrew, otherwise you can just do this chant along with everybody. בדברי נפלאותיך אשיחה. זכריו טובך יביעו, צדקתך ירננו, חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדל חסד, טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו על כל מעשיו, ברוך אדוני כל מעשיך וחסידיך יברכוך. bottom of 30. Tehillah. You're going to see when we get to the Torah reading this morning, it's a good one. It's a good one, and so many of the good ones are hidden in the book of Numbers, and people don't realize it because they're on summer vacation or because their synagogues are taking a July break or whatever, as we are. Anyway, this is a particularly good one, as you'll see, and we're only going to read a part of it, but we're following the Israelites as they trek through the desert, and we're in a section of the davening right now that's like the Hallelujah, Ashrei, like blessing, pray, like trying to tap into these sensations of gratitude that do not necessarily come naturally to everybody at all times, even in the moments when you would think that they should. So, for example, the Israelites, they're at Sinai. They have this relationship with God all of a sudden that's just like this powerful, like a powerful relationship that they can feel and they can see. And the Midrash says that the Israelites basically ran away from Sinai so God would stop talking to them. Basically like, enough, stop yelling at me, stop telling me what to do, Mom, and they basically ran away from Sinai. And so here they are a couple months later in the desert, and they're saying to Moses, and I'm gonna use their quotes themselves because they say it best. Hang on. 8:27. Okay, ready? All right. The riffraff in their midst felt a gluttonous craving, and the Israelites wept and said, "If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish that we used to eat for free in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, the garlic. Now our throats are all shivered, and it's shriveled, and there's nothing at all to eat, nothing but this manna." You guys, manna tasted like whatever people wanted to eat. Right, like it tasted like whatever the most delicious food was to the mouth of the consumer. It was the perfect food for everyone by definition, and it came in the perfect amount for everyone. And here they are being like, we wish we could go back, not to Sinai, to Egypt. It's extraordinary, but also so relatable. Right? Like, how often in the midst of what should be like a hallelujah moment, like I'm healthy. Okay, maybe I'm in the middle of a global pandemic, but I'm healthy. Whatever it is that you could actually look to and go like, I'm okay, and we go, gosh, I wish I were back in the past. And so I feel like part of what the davening is trying to help us do in every, in a moment is get in touch with the present and get in touch with the hallelujah of this moment. Even if our instinct is to imagine ourselves happier or better off or in a different place in the past, when you can't go back there. You actually don't want to go back there. Where we can go is forward, and where we have to go is forward. But where we are is now. And so, as we're going through these Ashrei, and as we turn to 32, to Hallelujah, and it just tries to sort of help us zero in on things that are, that we don't have to create, that we don't have to do, that simply are. You look up into the sky and there are stars. You look up into the sky and there's a sun shining. And that sun is like performing photosynthesis on all the plants and stuff so that they'll grow and there'll be food. And that plant you don't have to eat straight out of the ground, but like that plant could become an Impossible Burger. And that tastes a lot like an actual burger. That's incredible. Wow, and you didn't have to do anything to create that. You just had to observe that is happening in our world. Hallelujah. So I just want to invite us into a moment of acknowledgement of what is working, what is good. Anything that like is particularly, in this moment that you want to like acknowledge out loud so that we can appreciate together through your eyes, something that's working, something that's good, that you didn't have to create or put out there, but just you want to appreciate?
At the start of the summer, we got rose bushes that we did not plant, the previous owners of our house. So they just popped up out of the ground, and now our house is decorated with flowers all in the front yard.
I love that.
We don't water them because it's been so much. So it just bloomed, and it's beautiful.
Surprise rose bushes that are now blessing your yard. Love it. Appreciating the sun. You know what? I want to appreciate Danny and Wendy because, whenever we have services, Amy Nadal, our coordinator of membership, she'll write and she'll say, these people are volunteering. These people. I personally, Lizzie, don't have to do anything to make that happen. Amy makes it happen, but you make it happen, and then suddenly we've got like a volunteer crew of people who are helping welcome and being a friendly face for people who are coming in the room. I want to appreciate, human beings saying yes, Torah readers, welcomers. Thank you.
My dog is taken to waking up in the morning by putting her head right next to mine. Like she just walks up to the bed, and then like where my head is, she just lays her head right there next to me, and so I wake up with the dog like right up against me, and I don't know how she learned to do it. It's so cute.
So cute.
Love that. I want to appreciate harmony, like the existence of harmony. Do you know what I mean? Like melody is nice. Melody's really important. You wouldn't get harmony without melody. But like, isn't it nice when we're singing and then just all of a sudden you hear layers? It's like a sound bath, So for all these things and for so much more, hallelujah. We're on 32.
Hallelujah.
39.
Shochenan marom v'kadosh shemo.
Shochenan marom v'kadosh shemo.
V'chatu ranenu tzadikim baronai laisharim navatila. V'fi yesharim titrama uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach. Uv'lshon chasidim titkadash uv'kerev kadoshim tithalal. V'makalot v'vavot amcha beit Yisrael. Shechen chovat kol yitzrim lefanecha Eloheinu v'lo yavotenu v'imotenu leodot le'alel l'shabeach lefaher l'ramim le'ader levarech le'alel u'kalis al kol divrei shirot v'tishbechot David ben Yishai abdecha meshichecha. You can stand.
We're on 40.
Yishtabach shimcha le'ad malkeinu.
Yishtabach shimcha le'ad malkeinu. El HaMelech HaGadol. Kadosh v'chashamayim v'aretz. Ki l'cha na'el Adonai Eloheinu v'lo yavotenu v'imotenu.
Netzach gdula gvura tila v'tiferet kedusha u'malchut. Brachot ve'odot me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai. El melech gadol b'tishbachot, el ha'odot Adonai niflaot, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, melech el chei עולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד יברח ירתה וימליך מלכותה, וחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו
אמן. יהי שמי רב ומבורך לעולם ומעלמיה.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Before we go into Baruch Hu, I had a teacher at seminary, Bert Vizatsky, who was very insistent about when we said Kaddish, that it's this like practice of what the angels do of this sort of cacophonous, like one chants and the other responds. And so we do it as we go into a part of the service where we have to be kind of like bouncing back and forth off of each other. And the brichu is the like, it sort of like slips out of you. It means like, blessed is that one, blessed is God. And so you're saying these words of praise and you just can't help yourself. You're like, bless that, yes. And it's sort of like the moment that tells us we've transitioned from being aware of the world around us to being so in sync with it that we can't help but respond to it. And so Baruch Hu is the moment to kind of formalize that, to say, I have become so in tune not only with my physical surroundings, but with the people who share them with me, that I'm ready to do something back and forth with them. I'm ready to share it together. So when we say Baruch Hu, we all face one direction, but we all do something with each other back and forth, as if we are facing each other spiritually, even though physically we're facing a different direction. So as we say Baruch Hu, I want to invite you to like take a second as I say the opening line to let your response build in you. It doesn't have to be completely in sync, because it's not about what it sounds like. It's about you hearing that the community is calling your presence in and saying, I'm in. I'm here. I'm in tune, I'm ready. I bow. Beautiful. So we'll turn and face this way, which is east. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or v'choshech oseh shalom u'borei et hakol. You can sit down.
Kadosh Adonai, and it's holy like Adonai.
We're on 43 in the middle of the page. Where it says Hameir la'aretz, Hameira la'aretz, Hameira, Hameira, Hameira la'aretz, Veladarim aleha berachamim. Again, Hameira, 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 Hameira le'aretz. Call response. Veladarim aleha, Veladarim aleha barachamim. We continue with Tuvah Mechadeshet. Uvtuvah Mechadeshet b'chol yom, b'chol yom tamid. Uvtuvah Mechadeshet Maaseh Bereshit. We're on 44.
המשיח ואין דומה לך, מושיענו לתחיית המתים.
Picking up on the bottom of 48.
אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
Amen.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו.
חמלגת אליו יתרמות עלינו, רבינו מלכנו.
אבותינו שבטחו בך, תלמדם חוקי חיים, כן יכוננו וכונתנו אבינו. There's a moment in the Parsha you're going to see where Moses is like, God, I don't like this job anymore. You know, like these people are so unappreciative. It's like it's killing me. Like, God, don't have me do this job. Actually, just kill me, Moses says to God. And there's, it's Rav Soloveitchik or Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. But whatever, some rabbi along the way who said, you know, Moses' problem was that he was in teacher mode when he needed to be in parent mode. That he sort of like, he performed this role of prophet and leader, you know, where God was telling him all this stuff and impart this information basically to the people. And so he thought his job was to be an information spreader, you know? But in fact, what the people were asking for was attention, you know, with like we don't have enough to eat and maybe they didn't actually want information so much as they just wanted his attention, right? And so what God does is help Moses kind of distribute his ability to pay attention to the people and to be there for them in a way that had nothing to do with information, but in a way that had simply to do with presence. And so, you know, as we go into Shema from this Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu, there's this idea, you know, if you look on 49, V'tilamdem chukei chaim. You taught them laws of life. Ken techanenu utlamdenu. Please also teach us, but also be good to us. Techanenu. Give us your chen. Give us your grace. Don't just teach us information, and don't just be people who impart information to other people. Nobody likes a know-it-all, right? What people want from us and what we want from others, more than anything else, is attention and love and grace, chen. And that, our tradition says, is what this ahava rabbah feels like, what that great love that we are on the receiving end of. And then after the Shema, ve'ahavta, and that you will send that back out into the world. So gather the four corners of our tzitzit, remembering all the different ways that we can impart that sense of godliness, holiness, and love to people. And remembering that more than anything else, presence is what we can give.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
51.
ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Take a moment to read the second paragraph on page 52 quietly. The tradition is we don't say it out loud because it says not nice things. So we just take a moment with ourselves to recognize that the not nice exists, but we're not going to call it out, and we'll pick up together on 53.
The not nice things being that, like, karma's a bitch, basically.
Yeah, like we know it. We don't need to say it out loud.
Yeah. Sorry. It's true. All right, we're on 53.
Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor
דבר על בני ישראל ואמרת להם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף תהיה תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
אמת וציווי נכון בקם.
We're on 57. Tehilot le'el elyon baruch hu mevorach 58 as we begin the Amidah together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imaot U'Mevi Goel Livnei Bneihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Abraham U'Foked Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Metim Atah Rav Le'Oshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei Metim Berachamim Rabim Tzomech Noflim Berofeh Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Melach Melech Memit Umechayei Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman ata l'chayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim
60.
נקדש שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב היד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר
קדוש,
קדוש, קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלך הארץ כבודו.
קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ כבודו אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מנסים למצרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון תתקדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור לנצח נצחין ועינינו תראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך
מלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושמך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Amen. Amidah continues personally on 62 forward.
say shalom, shalom b'roma. Hu yaseh shalom. 73. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'roma. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'akol yoshvei Torah. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'roma. Hu yaseh shalom. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'roma. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'akol yoshvei Torah.
Hi, Shabbos people. Hello. Shabbos. Hi. We're gonna move around up here a little bit. We're gonna bring our table over here. We're gonna be reading Torah on, and then we're gonna do a little Torah service. Gonna read in context some of the things that we were talking about earlier and some other stuff, and do some learning. And while we're getting set up over here, I want to invite you to welcome somebody who you have not met here before, and maybe who you haven't spoken to this morning. Find out like who they are and where they came from and how they're doing today, and come back in a few minutes. And online too, who are you and where are you coming from?
To the kiddos.
Yeah. Great. Shkoyach, everybody.
happy to hear that. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Oh, Benji. We're going to do it.
Davening team, come daven with us.
Ruben, we're going to do it. All right, welcome back. Let's do this. We're on 75. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kemasecha malchutcha malchut kol olamim u'memshalcha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yoz le'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom Yerushalayim ki b'cha levad b'tachnu melech ha'olam v'nisa Adon olamim Adonai I want to invite everybody to stand as we're going to open the ark in just a second. This is kind of cool. So these words that we're about to say as we open the ark, which are essentially Vayehi bin Soah ha'aron vayomer Moshe, and when the ark was on the move, Moses would say, Kuma Adonai, get up, God, scatter the enemies before us so that we may move through with our ark and our people. And we say that every time we open the ark, like on any given week, like we're about to right now. It's in this week's Torah portion. You will hear it if you are paying attention. And then you will also hear the words that we say when we close the ark, Shuva Adonai Revavot Alfei Yisrael, like return God to the minions and myriads of your people. We say that when we close the ark, right before saying, Eitz Chaim Hi, it's a tree of life. So it's kind of fun when you see the stuff in the Torah appear like in practice and in use in services week to week to week. You will see where it comes from. We are on 75 at the bottom. Ready. Vayehi bin Soah ha'aron vayomer Moshe. That one has nothing in it. It's kind of boring.
It's okay.
Let's close it. Yeah.
We usually open both.
I know, but I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, okay. we could put something fun in it in the future.
Like a little
Or like
Torah?
another Torah. Like you could put like a Torah in it. That's a good
Next
idea.
time. Next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Adonai ve'afutzu oimecha ve'yanusu misanecha mipanecha ki Zion te'etze Torah udvar Adonai Yerushalayim ay Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato
Here, we're on bottom of 77.
Unexpected.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Do you want to do it?
Sure.
You got this.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Sorry, I surprised you.
Gadol Adonai Iti, Unaromo Mama Shemo Yah.
Yavdav, Rabbi Stephen will lead you around. We're on 78. Lecha
from Numbers chapter 10, verse 30 something.
Verse 35.
5.
We're on page
30.
What?
Nope, 832. 830.
826.
8. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Do
I can't.
I hear?
I can't read numbers.
Do I
Apparently.
hear 826? Yeah, in the small soft cover book, the Eitz Chaim.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you'll see this Torah reading, as discussed, it has a lot in it, and we've already, because we're picking up in the center of the Parsha, we've already missed a lot that has to do with all the different tribes carrying all the different parts of the ark and, sort of like how they moved around the desert. And so we're getting the very tail end of that here. You see in verse 33, we're starting at 35. So they marched from the mountain of God a distance of 3 days. The ark of the covenant of the Lord traveled in front of them on that 3 days to seek out a resting place for them. And God's cloud kept above them by day, and they moved on from camp. So the idea is as they moved through the desert, as discussed earlier, they had manna, but they also had this cloud to keep them shady during the day and a fire to keep them warm at night, and that was how they experienced God's presence. And so we're going to pick up with verse 35 and see what happens to this people who's, receiving such good care, but maybe not exactly the kind of care they need. For the first Aliyah, Danny's going to be reading, so I'm going to call him, but I also want to invite up anybody who is, for whom maybe it's been a long time since you've seen the Torah or like gotten close to the Torah, and you don't have to bless it. Danny's going to do the blessing, but if you actually want to like get up close and see, you are very invited to do that. Great. And like no shame at all. All right, it's. Right. Oh, you can take it off. What's your Hebrew name?
Daniel, Yaakov ben Sviaria, the Devorah.
All right. Ya'amod Daniel, Yaakov ben Tzvi, Aryeh v'Devorah, l'Aliyah ha'rishona, Baruch shenatan Torah, li'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato, va'atem hadvekim b'Adonai Elohechem, chayim kulchem hayom. We are on 79 if you want to do the back and forth Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach thing. Otherwise, you can just sort of ride the wave.
Oh, should blessing? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay. Hello. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi bin soah ha'aron vayomer Moshe kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha vayanusu misanecha mipanecha uvnucha yomar shuva Adonai urevot alfei Yisrael vayehi ha'am kamit nonanim Rab oznei Adonai vayishma Adonai vayichar apo vativar bam eish Adonai vatochal biktzei hamachaneh vayitzak ha'am el Moshe vayitpalel Moshe el Adonai vatishka ha'esh vayikra shem hamakom hahu tavera ki va'arabam eish Adonai V'hasasuf asher b'kirbo hitavu ta'ava v'yashuvu v'yivko gam b'nei Yisrael v'yomru miyochilenu basar zacharnu et hadaga asher nochal b'mitzrayim chinam et hakishuim ve'et havatichim ve'et hachatzir ve'et habetzalim ve'et hashumim V'yata nafshenu yivashe ein kol bilti el Haman einenu v'Haman kizra gadhu ve'eno ke'ein habdolach shatu ha'am v'laktu v'tachanu v'rechaim odachu b'amdocha uvishlu b'parur v'yasu oto ugot V'haya taman kita'am l'shad hashamen. Uvredet hatal el hamachana laila yered haman alav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Spent all this time earlier, Danny, talking about how the people complain here, and it's like, really, you're complaining? There is so much goodness to be seen that you're just not seeing. And I just want to say, Danny Schumann is a person who, when he sees goodness, he writes us an email to tell us. There are some people who write emails only to let us know when they're upset about something. Actually, it's a lot of people. It's like we don't hear from them all the other times, you know, and it's sort of like it just goes without saying that if things are good, like, I'm not going to say anything because that's your job, but if things are bad, I'm going to let you know. And it's actually an amazing trait when somebody just notices what's good and lets you know that they noticed. It's really beautiful. So I just want to say thank you for that, and I hope that that's contagious.
If you knew how many times I wanted to write emails and I didn't, I like keep it to like only a few because there's so many times I want to.
Oh, just do it every time. Every time. Because you know that whole negativity bias thing that like you have to hear 15 or 20 good things for every negative thing to offset the negative thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Thanks, Annie.
More emails coming.
Okay. Yasher koach. Ta'amod Abigail ba Louis v'Karen la'aliyah hashenit. We're starting at verse 10 on page 828.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayishma Moshe et ha'am bochel mishpachotav ish lefetach olo v'charaf Adonai me'od u'nei Moshe ra vayomer Moshe el Adonai Lama hareot alevdecha ve'lama lamatzati chen beinecha lasum et masa kol am hazeh alai ha'anochi hariti et kol am hazeh im anochi litihu ki tomar elai sa'eu v'chekecha kasher yisaho men et hayonek al adama asher nishbata levotav me'ayin li basar latei l'chol am hazeh Yivku alai lemor t'nalanu vasar v'nochela lo uchal anochi levadi la'aseh t'kolam hazeh ki chaved mimeni v'im kacha atoseli horgeni naharog imatzati chen beinecha ve'al ereh berati vayomer Adonai el Moshe esvali shivimi ish miziknei Yisrael asher yadata ki hem ziknei ha'am v'shoterav V'lakachta otam elo el moed, v'yatzavu sham imach, v'yarati, v'dibarti imecha sham, v'yatzalti min haruach asher alecha v'samti alehem, v'nasu etecha b'masa ha'am, v'lo tisata levadecha, v'la'am tomar, hikadeshu l'machar, v'achaltem basar, ki b'chitem, Be'oznei Adonai lemor, mi'achilenu basar ki tovanu b'mitzrayim, v'natan Adonai lachem basar ve'achaltem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. All right, so if you missed the reading here, Moses hears the people weeping, every clan apart, each person at the entrance of their tent. You know, so the image, because the Torah doesn't waste any words, is that everybody's kind of alone, and Moses is alone.
even though they're all doing the same thing, they're doing it separately. And Moses says, "Why have you dealt ill with your servant? Why haven't you given me grace? Why did you lay the burden of this people on me? Did I conceive them? Did I bear them? That you should say to me, carry them in your bosom and nurse them like an infant to the land that you have promised to their fathers? Where am I supposed to get meat to give these people when they whine before me and they say, give me meat to eat? I can't carry this people myself. It's too much for me. If you would deal with me this way, kill me." Moses, ladies and gentlemen, the great prophet. And God is like, "Shh, oh honey, you think you needed to do this by yourself? Oh my God, you don't have to do this by yourself." And so God says, "Gather for me 70 of Israel's elders who you have experience with, that they're officers and elders in the people who are trusted. Bring them here and let them take their place with you." Okay, so Abby just joined Mishkan's board, which is why she's up here for this particular aliyah. And it strikes me as important, an important note that the Torah anticipates something that, I mean, the truth is a board for a nonprofit is a requirement of the US government if you're gonna have nonprofit status. So it's not just a good idea, it's also legally required. But also, I will say, part of what the board does is it shoulders the burden of leadership so that there's no one person, me, Rachel Court, any rabbi, anybody on our staff, who feels that they have to do this thing, which is, lead and guide a community by themselves. Because, if Moses couldn't do it, I sure as hell don't want to try. So thank you, Abby. Welcome to our board.
Thank you.
Looking forward to many years of your intelligence and your service and all of your life experience and the enthusiasm and leadership you have already brought to the community in this context. Stay up here. Yeah, do. Noam Ranan Ben. Chaim Yechezkel Chava Shirachana Bat Tzvi Barachel Simcha La'aliyah HaShlishit. And we are at verse 19, page 830.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Lo yom echad tochelun v'lo yomayim v'lo chamisha yamim v'lo asara yamim v'lo esrim yom ad chodesh yamim ad asher yetzeh me'apechem v'yalachem lezara yan ki me'astem et Adonai asher b'kirbechem v'atifku lefanav lemor lamazeh yatzanu mimitzrayim v'yomer Moshe 600,000 ragli ha'am asher nochi b'kirbo v'yata marta basar etan lahem v'yachilu chodesh yamim hatzon uvakar yishachet lahem umatzah lahem im kol degei hayam yasef lahem umatzah lahem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Actually, I think the last time I stood up with the two of you at the same time was under the chuppah a couple months ago. So mazel tov on your wedding and on the beginning of a new life together. A Harley Davidson truck passed me on the road yesterday, and I thought of you. He proposed to her in a Harley Davidson dealership. Thank you for all that you do and all that you are. Gideon regularly reads Torah at Mishkan, and they are builders at Mishkan, and he's on the board of Beth Emet. So we distribute the love. That's great. Yep. Shkoyach. We're going to pause for a moment for a Mishabera.
So at the end of the Parsha, which we're not going to read today, there's like the original Jewish healing prayer where Miriam is stricken with tzaraat and Moshe prays on her behalf just 6 words. Ana el na refana la. Please, God, heal her. Moshe, right? The person who speaks much of the Torah. And when it comes to his sister, who is sick, he has 6 words, which teaches us that it's not about the words that we say, it's the intention that we put behind saying them. There's no magic formula for saying heal this person. There's no magic way to change things cosmically. There's just putting intention behind it and singing and praying and thinking. And so if you are thinking of someone who needs healing and you'd like to rise and say their name quietly or out loud, if you are online and you want to put it in the chat, there's no magical thing that we could say. There's no special whatever. I think are we gonna do the Ana Elna?
Yeah.
We're gonna do these 6 words. We're gonna try to channel Moshe's intention behind this and know that as you are moving through the world and thinking of people who are in need of healing, thinking of a baby in the community who is sick, singing, thinking, drawing attention towards, raising a cup for, all of these things are prayers for healing. And you can do them at any time, at any place, whenever it feels right to you, and you just walk around humming a song that reminds you of them. And we take inspiration from Moshe that when we need healing, we don't have to say a lot, we just have to show up with our heart. So if you'd like to pray for healing for anyone this morning, I'm thinking of Bina Chava, Bat Manuel Verifka. You can share with us who you're thinking of.
שבירך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב ואמותינו שרה רבקה רחל ולאה הוא יברך את כל החולים וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף בתוך שאר חולי ישראל שבת היא מלזעוק רפואה קרובה לבוא השתא בגלה וזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. Sing Ana Elna.
And everyone who needs a prayer, we can all say, Amen. Amen. Ta'amod.
Rivka Fena bat Rachel.
And
Eliezer Laila Malka bat Jeffrey. V'Kalin Aliyah HaRivi'it, and a baby whose name we're not going to say today because they're going to do a naming with Rabbi Dina later. So come in here, come in. Gideon's going to show you where he's reading from, and for all of us, we're on verse 23. Let's see, what page is that? Hi, Stephen. Bottom of 830.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe, Hayad Adonai tiksar ata tireh, Hayakircha devarayim lo, Vayetze Moshe, V'yidaber alam et divrei Adonai, Vayesov shivim ish miziknei ham, Vayamed otam sevivot ha'ohel, Vayered Adonai, Ve'anan, Ve'edaber elav, Vayatzel, Min haruach asher alav, Vayiten al shivim ish haskenim, Vayehi kanoach alehem haruach, Vayitnabu ve'lo yasafu, Vayisharu shnei anashim, B'machaneh, Shem Hachad Eldad, V'Shem Hasheni Medad, V'Tanach Alehem Haruach, V'Hema B'Ketuvim, V'Lo Yatzu Ha'ohela, V'Yitnavu B'Machaneh, V'Yarat Tanar, V'Yaged L'Moshe, V'Yamar, Eldad U'Medad, Mitnav Im b'machaneh, Vayan Yehoshua bin Nun, Mishared Moshe mibchurav, Vayomer Adoni Moshe kalaam, Vayomer lo Moshe hamikne atali, Umiten kol am Adonai nevi'im, Kiten Adonai et rucho alehem.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam atah b'tochoinu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Well, so Rebecca and Kim and Hillary, is this sort of your first introduction to the community and the community to your family?
Yes.
All right, well, welcome to all of you. And we noticed a couple Eliot back, how the Israelites had this incredible memory for all the good parts of Egypt and magically sort of forgot all the bad stuff. And that's kind of what happens with the phase of life that I feel like you're in right now. May you be blessed with actually that particular skill, which is remembering all of the yummy snuggles and forgetting all of the sleepless nights and being up in the middle of the night and crying and where's the milk and where's that bottle and where's that onesie and did you bring the diapers? I thought I had. What, you don't have them? I don't. Anyway, may you just move through that and remember all of these moments of connection and love.
Thank you.
Yeah, and may you have a really fun and meaningful baby naming when we get to learn Hillary's Hebrew name.
Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to just slide on over here. And finally, Ya'amod, Ta'amod. Chaya bat Sarah Sarah bat Anna la'aliyah ha'chamishit. Come on over.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
ויאסף משה אל מחנהו וזקני ישראל ברוח נשא מאת אדוני ויגוז צלבים מן הים ויטוש על המחנה כדרך יום כה וכדרך יום כה סביבות המחנה וכמאתיים על פני הארץ ויקום כל היום ההוא וכל הלילה וכל יום המחנה ויאספו המחרת ויאספו את הצלב הממעיט אסף 10 חומרים וישתחו להם שטוח סביבות המחנה הבשר עודנו בין שניהם טרם יכרת ואף אדוני חרבם ויח אדוני בעם מכה רבה מאוד ויקרא את שם המקום ההוא כבירות הטבה כי שם קברו את העם המתאבים מקברות התאווה נשאו העם חצרות ויהיו בחצרות.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'hayei olam natan v'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
So last week, there was this thing called the Greater Chicago Jewish Festival, which is like this big Jewish festival in a forest preserve out in Skokie. And I was able to go for like 15 minutes, which is not really worth the effort. But what can I say? I had 2 performances of my child's dance recital on this end and on this end. So it was what it was. But I saw 2 people there. I like looked up during the like short amount of time that I was there, and it was Alex and Antoinette. And I was just struck that, like, you two, at least in Jewish spaces, because those are the only spaces that I go in where I see you, you travel together. And your mother-daughter, and what I think we see in the Parsha that's kind of a problem, is Moses feeling like he as a leader needs to drag the people and do all the effort. And that what the correction that God puts into place is a more mutual kind of thing, where the people and God are taking care of each other. You know, the 70 elders and Moses, and you know that there's actually a realization that it's not one way. And as a parent, you know, there's a period of time where it's one way. But then as adults, you actually get to experience the joy of taking care of each other. And I feel like you're a blessing in that you show us that, and it's beautiful. I don't know what it's like when you go home at the end of the day, but I know that at least here, it really feels like you two model so well that taking care. So thank you. Is there anybody here who's like a Hagba maniac? All right, girl, get up, Michelle, Rabbi Michelle. All right, we are going to stand in a moment, and we are going to. You what?
We're in the middle of the Torah.
Yes, that's exactly right. So Hagba is when you lift the Torah, and it's very challenging if we're at the beginning or end of the Torah, because the entire scroll is on one or the other side. But we are in the actual middle of the Torah right now, and so we're all going to stand as Michelle raises the Torah, and then Eitan, as long as she's raising, do you want to rap?
Yeah, Amdu Hagba V'Golel. I don't want to hit the thing. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. Hi,
So, welcome everybody. I think you probably heard me say this is our last service, like a service like this until August. We're taking kind of a July Shemitah. Hello, my children. And so what that means is we'll be doing a little bit less like sort of formal programming on evenings and weekends. And on Shabbat mornings, we will be doing some learning out in the park. And if there's bad weather, we'll do it at the Mishkan office. But just recognizing that, especially like without having, the cascade of bar bat mitzvahs, it's a smaller crew, it's an awesome crew, but we maybe don't need all this space. And it's gorgeous outside, and it's nice to be outside during the summer. So just spend some time learning. Where's Rabbi Stephen? Oh, he's gone. All right. I was going to ask him if he wanted to say anything about the learning this summer. But it's the materials are going to be provided by Hadar, the Hadar Institute. So it'll be like Chavruta learning over some like quality materials on subjects that'll be interesting. And so if you see like summer Beit Midrash on Shabbat mornings, that's what that is. All right. Anything else?
On Friday nights.
And we're still doing Friday nights. So like never fear, every other Friday. The schedule's the same. And that is all I have to say. All right, over to you, Rabbi.
Okay. Since we're a smaller and somewhat more intimate crowd this morning, I thought instead of just like talking at you for a while, we're going to do some study together, and then I'll talk at you for a very short period of time. So if you want to pull your Chumash back out, your Eitz Chaim, we're going to go back in there. We're going to look at chapter 12, the beginning of it, which we didn't read this morning, but which is both one of the best narratives in the Torah and also one of the most confusing, just in the way that it's written. Like it doesn't, if I was trying to publish a book today and I sent this to an editor, they would be like, I don't think you fully grasped the concept of narrative. You have ideas in here, you have like, it's like almost like a stage play, but without the dialogue parts. So we're going to look at chapter 12, verses 1 through 9. That is on page 833 to 834. Before you like dive right into this juicy narrative that I just dangled in front of you, I want to give you a question to think about, which is, what is God doing? What is God doing here? And you might find as you're reading it that you want to like play this out on your hand as if you're like staging a tiny finger play, and you're like 3, 2, 1, what? Right? So you might find that that's actually kind of helpful for you in visualizing what's happening here, but I want you to read verses 1 through 9 as the narrative and then puzzle to yourselves for a few minutes, what is God doing here? What is God, literally and metaphorically, what is happening? Okay? And then we'll come back together in a couple minutes. So turn to someone near you. Maybe you came with them, maybe you didn't, maybe you might need to turn around in your chairs. Just to make sure that everyone has someone to study with, and we'll take a couple minutes, 8:33 to 8:34. Yes, page 833 to 834, so it's chapter 12, verses 1 through 9.
awesome.
It's a very good non-narrative.
It's a good what?
It's a very good, like, narrative that's not a narrative. It's just a bunch of sentences.
12, 1 through 9?
Yeah.
What was the question you asked?
What is God doing?
Like Miriam is talking smack about Moses, and the question is like, what is?
Read through it and you'll see God does a bunch of things that sort of connect but don't really connect.
Okay. This is so funny. This is like the, one of the definitions of Lashon Hara that what's his favorite, like the Chofetz Chaim, where it's like even just saying something about somebody else that is true can be Lashon Hara because of its context. Like, because he had married a Cushite woman. He married a Cushite woman. Like, that's true. And also, the way you're saying it is Lashon Hara. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot happening there, but the particular thing is when God calls for the three of them, so then Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, here, and then God says, come here, Aaron, Miriam.
yeah. Yeah.
Commentators are like, why did God call Moshe in the first place?
Right. And what was the answer?
Well, you'll see.
Okay, cool. All right, great.
Because our mic is still
Yeah,
hot.
all right, cool. Great.
But also, like, it's just like, why do we need to know that? This is very humble.
Are you going to read this back out loud with everybody? Just, yeah. I'm still mad at them, God departed. It's so funny. I sometimes tell Henry, I'm like, if you feel like you can't be here right now, get up and leave. Don't stay here. I don't like your attitude. But it's like the right thing to do sometimes is to leave when you feel that way. Don't stay anymore. Nobody needs that energy.
All right, let's take like one more minute to wrap up. Okay, let's come back together. Certainly we will not have delved into everything that this parsha has to offer us, but I'm going to read these verses aloud, dramatically, and then I want to hear what you came up with for what God is doing. Should we act them out? Are we feeling, yeah? Okay, I need 4 people. We need Moshe, Miriam, Aaron, and God. Let's start with God. Who wants to be God? All right, Eric, you're God. Come on up. Who wants to, you got promoted. It's a real good promotion. Mazel tov. Who would like to be Moshe? Also a promotion. Who feels leadery among us? Wendy, you nodded enthusiastically when I said, let's act this out. So, Mazel tov, you're now Moshe. All right, Miriam?
Bring your book with you, though.
Yeah, well. I'll talk you through it. You're good. Miriam? Anyone feeling Miriam-y? Feeling a little gossipy this morning? How many people have gossiped already today? You don't need to raise your hand. Great. Come on up. All right, and we need an Aaron. Who wants to be Aaron? You get a really easy role because you just walk forwards and backwards here. Aaron, Lisa. All right, you guys can go stand there. I'm going to be your narrator. All right, God, you're over here. Moses, you can go stand over there. And Miriam and Aaron, you're here in the middle. Okay. When they were in Chatzerot, but Moses and Miriam and Aaron, you're not together.
I think she's just looking for a page.
Oh, yeah, 8:33. When they were in Hatzerot, Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman he had married. He married a Cushite woman. All right, you two gossip with each other. Moses, you're overdoing your own Moses thing. They said to each other, has God spoken only through Moses? Has God not spoken through us as well? And who overheard them gossiping but God? God heard it. Now Moses was a very humble man, more so than any man on earth. Not sure why we need to know that right now. Suddenly, poof, God calls out to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Come out, you three, to the tent of meeting. So Moses is over there, Miriam and Aaron are over here, and God out of nowhere is like, come here, beckon them over. Come on, guys. So the three of them went out. God came down in a pillar of cloud. Excellent. Stopped at the entrance of the tent and called out Aaron and Miriam. The two of them came forward. Moshe is now standing alone in the entrance of the tent. God said, hear these words, these my words. When a prophet of God arises among you, I make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is trusted throughout my household. When I speak with him, I speak mouth to mouth. I'm not sure what that means either. Plainly and not in riddles, and he beholds the likeness of the Lord in all my glory. How then did you not shrink from speaking against my servant Moses? Still incensed with them, the Lord departed. Great. Thank you all. Okay, so what is God doing here? Michelle, Rabbi.
You said why does it, that, not sure why we need to know that Moses is humble, but it's an interesting contrast of personalities that maybe Moses doesn't care or is humble enough to just let it roll off his back, that his siblings are, talking smack about him or whatever, whereas God is not. And so God comes in and is like, whoa, like, don't put up with that, and I'm going to defend you, which is a very interesting. So I think it's important, actually, to know, to get a reminder of his personality, because maybe he's just willing to let it go, but God is not.
Great. So just for the benefit of the people online who are not necessarily going to pick up the non-mic sound, Michelle's calling our attention to the fact that Moses is named as very humble, and maybe this is a sign that, like, Moses was willing to let this gossip roll off his back, and God is like, no. We don't just let that slide. We deal with it. Love that. What else? What is God doing here? Oh, yes, Reuben, thank you.
Well, God's kind of standing up for Moses, but standing up for God's self too, because of if Moses can speak directly, which is funny because he's speaking directly now to Aaron and Miriam, but if he's speaking directly through Moses, then that's like Moses can only be humble for himself. Moses shouldn't be humble on behalf of God because God's got an agenda.
Great.
But,
Great.
yeah.
Standing up for God via Moses because of the close relationship they have. Mouth to mouth. The CPR instructor would tell you there should be a barrier there.
I think it's also just worth putting a fine point on what both Michelle and Ruben were saying, which is that God is not this sort of a character who is unconcerned with the minutia of human daily existence. We might think to ourselves, it's not that big a deal if I'm talking about somebody. It's not like I killed someone or stole something or I didn't violate one of the 10 Commandments. So whatever, it's fun to gossip. It feels good, But the Torah is really God can't tolerate that. It's which is rough because
God cares about what we say, yeah.
But then I don't understand why it brings in the issue of the servant compared to the prophet, and one shouldn't be gossiping about anyone, so I'm not sure why that's in there.
Right. Why do we need to know about the kind of relationship that God and Moshe have? Shouldn't God just then be like, don't gossip about anyone, period? There doesn't need to be a qualification there. So, like, I can gossip about you because I don't have that kind of relationship with God, and neither do you. Like, right, it's a good question. Other thoughts about what God is doing here? Yes, Gideon.
The other interesting thing to me is that God is, like, completely putting Moshe in one place and Miriam and Aharon in another place when, like, they all come from, like, they are all siblings, they all come from the same background. Like, Aaron is the high priest. Wouldn't it make sense that God might speak directly to Aaron and Miriam and not only to Moses? So there's a difference there, but like, why is that difference there, and why is God emphasizing that difference? It looks kind of bad on God.
Yeah, it does look kind of bad on God. And as Rume noted, God in this moment speaks directly to Aaron and Miriam. It's one of very few times in the Torah that God talks directly to them. And here it is. Okay, yeah.
More of a question. I don't really have a good answer, but why is Moses not defending his wife throughout all this?
This is a very good question. I did this whole skit thing to call your attention to the fact that Moses wasn't there as Aaron and Miriam were talking about him. It's possible that Moshe doesn't know. He was over doing Moshe stuff, like dealing with the people who have been kvetching all Parsha. He's over dealing with the 70 elders, right? That's what happens at the end of chapter 11. He's doing the whole 70 elders thing. And Moshe and Miriam and Aaron are over here gossiping about him. It's possible, we don't know because the Torah doesn't say anymore, but it's possible that Moshe doesn't know what is or is not being said about him. God overhears them because God has overhearing powers. But who knows what Moshe does or doesn't know? Right? I called your attention to the choreography because the choreography here is weird. Moshe's doing Moshe stuff. Aaron and Miriam are gossiping, but like, to be perfectly honest, feels like sort of innocuous gossip because they're literally just stating a fact. Moshe married a Cushite woman. Right? Rabbi Lizzie was telling me, I think it's the Chafetz Chaim, who says that we learn from this that gossip is not just about what is said, but also how it's said. Right? So like, Moshe married a Cushite woman. It could just be a fact. Moshe married a Cushite woman. But no, like it's gossip because of the tone in which they say it, and also potentially because they say it behind Moshe's back. Moshe's not there listening to them. He doesn't know what's happening. So the thing that sticks out to me about this is the way that, like, the movement of people is weird here. Moshe's overdoing Moshe's stuff. Miriam and Aaron are doing Miriam and Aaron's stuff, which involves saying something potentially negative about their brother. God is off doing God's stuff, which apparently is eavesdropping on Miriam and Aaron. And then the text says Moshe was very humble, which might mean that he's not like prepared to stand up for himself, but might have another meaning, which we'll get to in a second. And God overhears this stuff, and he says, Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, come here. And it happens suddenly, like out of nowhere, the three of them simultaneously hear this summons. So they come together, right? It's like if I just magically summoned Rachel Milan from the other room. Come here, Rachel. We have to talk about guitar chords. And so they're magically summoned together, but then what happens? God says, Aaron and Miriam, come here. So what has God done? Has brought Moshe into a situation Moshe wasn't a part of to begin with, but then keeps Moshe at the entrance of the tent and calls the other two in to rebuke them. Right? It's choreographically weird. So the commentators, and particularly Rashi, says, like, what? Like, is God just a really bad director? Like, God is writing a screenplay and hasn't, like, figured out movement of people? No. Rashi says two things. The first is, Rashi says that mention that Moshe was humble, it wasn't for nothing. It was to teach us that God was going to say nice things about Moshe, but we don't heap praise on someone to their face because it embarrasses them. It's awkward to sit there while someone who's basically your boss goes on and 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 about you, right? Hearing a nice thing from your boss, always good. Hearing a couple nice things from your boss, really lovely. The entire hour-long staff meeting where all your boss does is praise you, awkward, right? And that's what Rashi says. He's like, we don't want to go too far in front of someone saying nice things about them. We want to give them the chance to remain humble among their people and to not embarrass them in front of their people. But also, Rashi says, God called Aaron and Miriam into the tent to rebuke them because it would have been painful for Moshe to watch his siblings get chastised. We should share negative feedback. We just shouldn't do it in front of the people close to that person, right? So like, if your boss has something critical to say about your performance, they don't call your spouse or your parents in for the meeting. They do it alone. They do it just face to face with the person who has done something that deserves critique. And so Rashi says we need both of these things. Actually, Rashi says we need one or the other of these things. It could be that what God is doing here is praising Moshe, but not too much in front of Moshe's face, because that would have been awkward. It could be that what God is doing is not rebuking Aaron and Miriam in front of Moshe, because it would have been hard for Moshe to listen to his siblings be critiqued. And the other commentators come and say, it's not an either-or situation, Rashi. It's a both and. We learn from this moment how to give people feedback, which is we should give them some positive feedback in the presence of their loved ones or publicly, right? We should acknowledge people in front of them in a way that others can see and hear as well. And we should give critical feedback, and we should give it only to the people who are receiving the feedback and not publicly, because it's hard for them to hear, but also because when someone says something tough about someone we care about, it's tough for us too. It reminds us, right? God is in this moment, according to these commentators, being very sensitive in saying, I have a really special relationship with Moshe, and I know that it would be hard for Moshe to hear something tough about his siblings, so I want him to know that it's happening, but he doesn't need to be a part of it. We should tell people nice things publicly, but not so much that we embarrass them. And we should tell them critical things privately for their sake and for the sake of the people who love them, that they don't have to be dragged into the lower points of that person. This is a good lesson. Even if choreographically it doesn't make a ton of sense, it does make sense to teach us that it is worth bringing people together for positive, and it is worth stepping aside for the negative. The book of Bamidbar is very much the teenage relationship book of the Torah, right? It's like each book of the Torah, they kind of grow from childhood to middle schoolers in the book of Exodus, and then we pause for a bunch of laws. This teenage rebellion phase is the book of Bamidbar. And so this lesson that comes relatively towards the beginning of the book of Bamidbar says to us, building relationships is tough, but you're not doing it alone. You've got guides in front of you, and you can handle having tough conversations. Giving good feedback and giving critical feedback is hard. Here, let me give you a model. Now, you go try to put that model into practice. Think about people who you have good stuff to share about, and make sure that you're sharing that good stuff about them, and make sure that you're sharing it in such a way that others see and hear it. Right? If you supervise people at work, or you've got kids, or you've got friends, or family, or community, say the nice thing in the group text. Guys, Anna sent me a card, and I'm so appreciative, right? Say the nice stuff in the group, and take the critical stuff and do it one-on-one. And that is your interpersonal lesson from the Parsha. Okay, now you can put your chumash away.
Okay, it's true. Yasher koach. Beautiful. We're going to turn to 107.
It's on 107.
What's on 107? In Kelohenu. We almost never do this one, and I want to teach one that I want us to do on the regular. All right. It's
It involves the Hebrew, and then it involves Ladino. Yeah, right. Right. So okay, Ein Kelohenu, Mi Kelohenu. There is no God like our God. Ein. All right, then Mi, who is like our God? And then Nodel Eloheinu. All right, we acknowledge our God. And then Baruch Eloheinu, we bless our God. And so the Ladino version, it includes the Hebrew, but then it goes like this. That's going to be low, too low. En Keloheinu, en Kadonenu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu. And so Spanish or Ladino, none, like not. None como nuestro Dios, none como nuestro Señor, none como nuestro El Rey, none como nuestro Salvador. So every stanza is like that except quien, me, no de, lo haremos, and then Baruch bendicho. All right? It's okay. This is the first time we're doing it. We're going to do this a lot, I think. Here we go. Mi Keloheinu, mi Kadonenu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Kemoshienu. ¿Quién como nuestro Dios? ¿Quién como nuestro Señor? ¿Quién como nuestro El Rey? ¿Quién como nuestro Salvador? No del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkeinu, no del Moshiach. Lo haremos nuestro Dios, lo haremos nuestro Señor, lo haremos nuestro El Rey, lo haremos nuestro Salvador. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshiach. Bendicho nuestro Dios, bendicho nuestro Señor, bendicho nuestro El Rey, bendicho nuestro Salvador. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshiach. Tú sos nuestro Dios, tú sos nuestro Señor, tú sos nuestro El Rey, tú sos nuestro Salvador. Atahu Shektiru, Avotenu, Lefanecha, Kedoret Asam, Yadadai, Yadadai, Yadadai. We're gonna stand. הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים, ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי ומלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כה כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל והארץ מתחת. Ain't no bottom of one time. Biom
reflecting on what we learned from Rabbi Dina and from the rabbis about giving feedback, and I'm struck thinking about that against the backdrop of this past week's very public hearings, right? And thinking there's a power dynamic that if a person has a lot of power, then actually publicly naming might not be such a bad thing and might actually be necessary. And so I want to think more about power dynamics as it relates to that whole question of when we do things privately behind closed doors and when it turns out if a person has a ton of power, that's actually not enough. This is good. Good fodder. All right. Lunch discussion. We are on 111 Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. Is there anybody you're thinking about today whose name you want to say as we remember?
Selwyn Weiss, Rabbi.
May their memories be blessings. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah be'alma divrach rutei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael b'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, shmei dechusha, brichu, le'ela, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen, amen. May all of their memories be blessings. We're going to grab our kiddush and motzi, and lunch today looks delicious and plentiful. And so I hope that you'll stay, and we'll set up tables here and break bread together. All right, we're on 113. Let us stand. All right, are you going to do Kiddush with me? All right, cool. Here we go. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Israel, Oti leolam, Oti leolam, V'shamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, V'shamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam.
Shabbat l'kodsho, sheshit min tavod v'asita kol malachtacha, v'yom hashvi Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha, lo ta'aseh chol malacha, ata uvincha uvitecha avdecha ve'amarcha uvehemtecha, v'gercha asher b'sharecha, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, et hayam ve'et kol asher bam v'yanach b'yom hashvi'i, al kein merach Adonai et yom hashבת v'yikadshehu, savri
l'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Say l'chaim. L'chaim. Da, da, da.
Wow. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Good Shabbos. While that's going around, maybe I'll do one last song. Let's sing one last song. Oh, Adiras. All right. Let's sing Yananai as the challah is going around. Ya la la na 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 ya